caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the crossfire.
Hey guys, welcome to the tutorial, and let's start right off by drawing shadows for some basic shapes. The first, we'll draw a shadow for a cube. The first step to drawing a shadow is to select a point from where the light will fall onto your object. So that is the point I've selected, and I will join it to the top 4 corners of the cube with the help of straight lines. After that, I'll join the lower point of the perpendicular line to the 4 lower corners of the cube. The next step is to mark the points where the top set of lines intersect the lower set of lines. As you can see, these 2 lines join or intersect at that point. If a line doesn't intersect, then just extend it and mark the point. After you have the 3 points, the next step is to join those 3 points. So that is the shape that your shadow of the cube will acquire. Erase all the unnecessary parts that you have in your drawing. Now I'll use a 6B or a 4B pencil to do the shading. The shading near the object will be very dark and will decrease in darkness towards the outer edges of your shadow. So as you shade, decrease the pressure on your pencil as you move outwards. This will take some practice, so you just have to practice at home on a rough sheet of paper by decreasing the pressure gradient on your pencil. If you want me to make another tutorial about shading, please comment down below so I can do it in the future. I'm not going to make a very detailed shadow, I'm just going to rough it over fast. And that's generally how your shadow should look. Moving on to a cylinder. Now the shadow of a cylinder is much more easier to make because it has curves instead of points like a cube. Basically you have to take 2 points on the diameter of the circle of the top surface of the cylinder, connected by a line. Now these lines should be parallel on the top surface and the bottom surface of the cylinder. Now like before, select a point source of light and join it to the 2 points you have selected on the top surface of the cylinder. Now join the lower point to the 2 lower points of the cylinder. Then mark the points where the top set and the lower set of the lines intersect. Now since the shape of the top surface of the cylinder is curved, you have to apply a curve to the shadow as well. Now draw a curved line between the 2 intersection points that you've marked. Now for shading the shadow, start with more pressure near the object and less pressure towards the end of the shadow. As you can see, I'm putting more darker shades near the base and slowly decreasing pressure, making the shadow lighter as it moves from the object. Now that's roughly how your shadow should look like. Now how do you draw shadows for the top view of objects? As you can see, I've placed an object with the light coming from this direction. The shadow is darker near the object, light towards the end, and in a tapering shape. As before, take a point of source of light and 2 points on the diameter of the circle. Now what you have to do is join the point of source of light to the 2 points on the diameter. Now the shadow will be darker as usual near the object and lighter towards the end. There's no definite shape to the shadow in top view. Now what if the object was square? There's not much difference in how you draw the shadow. As usual, take the point of light, but this time there'll be 3 lines which you will make that decide the shape of the shadow. Now draw lines which are parallel to the sides of the square. And there you have the general shape of the shadow. Shadows can say a lot about the nature and material of the object. Here I have a transparent object and an opaque object. Think about how the shadows will be. For the opaque object, the shadow will be as usual, darker towards the object and lighter towards the ends of the shadow. You can use a normal 6B or 4B or 8B pencil to shade the shadow. But for a transparent object, the shadow will be very light. It will have a darker shade near the object, but the rest of the shadow will be very light, which you can draw or shade with an HB or 2B pencil. This is how shadows are very useful in telling you how the material is. Now in case the ground isn't uniform or plain, you don't have to do anything much different. Take a point of light, join it to the top 2 corners of here for example a square. Now the line of the shadow, or the outer edge of the shadow, will follow the outer line of the ground or stairs or whatever you've drawn. It will be parallel to the edge of the ground. I've made the object smaller so the shadow can fit into the given space. For shading in such cases, you have to apply simple logic. The surfaces which receive enough light will be lighter, and the ones which don't will be given a darker shade. The edges or corners will be much darker than the outer parts of the shadow. This surface here, which is completely 90 degrees to the source of light, will be given the darkest shade. And there you have the completed shadow. If you have any questions whatsoever, please do comment below and I'll be very happy to answer them. And if you have any requests for future tutorials, comment that too. I'll try to make them in the future.